We're joined in the studio now by Apryl Day. She is the daughter of Yorta woman Auntie Tanya Day, who died after being arrested in Victoria in 2017. Apryl, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You have very unfortunately had to become a campaigner on these issues. So on this day, that marks 30 years since this landmark Royal Commission, when we hear all of these statistics, what is going through your mind?
It's really heavy for us as a family and for all the families that have lost someone in custody. We know that the majority of our loved ones would still be here today if those recommendations have been implemented. And, it's 30 years too late for some of us that may get that recommendation that was linked to our loved one's death, like we did with the public drunkenness.
And speaking of public drunkenness, to the amazement of lots of people, it was still illegal in 2017, and that sadly engulfed Tanya. So what were the knock-on effects? We hear about, yes, I mean, it's sad that individual Indigenous Australians die, but what has been the effect on your family?
It's completely ruined our family. You know, we're still in that grief, we're still in that trauma. A lot of families get thrown into the spotlight and have to advocate and speak to media and do this political campaigning where it makes it difficult to grieve and to be able to heal, because our life is just focused around the advocating and calling for justice, and sometimes we never get it.
Mm.
You obviously have one terrible up-close experience of this, but there is a bigger story here, and that is the statistics. And it was found that the leading reason for Aboriginal deaths in custody is just the amount of incarceration. That rate has doubled since the Royal Commission. It was 14% now. It's now 29% of the prison population. What do you think the reasons for that are?
I think it addresses the systemic racism within this country, and you can see on the NATSL's website the family's demands that we have put forward to meet with the Prime Minister, and it addresses those sort of things. So we know that when Mum was arrested in 2017, Aboriginal women were more than 11 times more likely to be arrested for public drunkenness than a non-Indigenous woman, and we had seen that on that same day after they had arrested Mum. Immediately after, they had picked up a white woman for being heavily intoxicated at the Cumberland Hotel, and they drove her home safely and didn't issue her a fine. But here we are today, and our mum was fined for public drunkenness and had died because she was a black woman asleep on a train.
So if the Prime Minister agreed to meet you, you've asked for a meeting with him. What would you tell him in terms of, okay, it's 30 years on, what is the thing you most want, in this case the federal government, to do to ensure we're still not talking about this issue in another 30 years' time?
Well, he actually hasn't agreed to meet with us. That call was rejected, I think it was about a month ago. We are still calling on him to meet with us, and we've got over 20,000 signatures, and we're still calling on the public to support our families. It really comes down to the demands that the family have written, that our campaign is family-led, it's family-governed, and it addresses things like implementing all the Royal Commission recommendations, police not investigating their own, all those sort of things that are relevant to our family cases and what's already been recommended in the Royal Commission.
And you have, as I say, found yourself an accidental, very regretful campaigner on this, I imagine. As part of that, you've set up a new foundation to support families. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the Dadwa Foundation is a grassroots foundation that is family-led and governed. It's to ensure that there is no government influence or funding associated with us. And the foundation has been established to provide a coordinated approach into a culturally safe way to work with Aboriginal families that have lost someone in police custody or in prison. And we do that with a few different ways, with financial assistance, peer support, and as well as the important part of campaigning is the campaign capacity building and media training.
Okay. Well, Apryl, we're so sorry for your loss. Thank you very much for coming in to talk to us about it, and we appreciate it. I know it's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you.